Welcome to Direforce Wargaming Zone. Yes, today my plan is to paint a Grey Seer Games Workshop miniature, and we'll see how it goes with the lighting and the focus and so on here. I am going to start this video with going through my setup. Of course, and obviously, strong lights, good lighting is key when painting. Good gear is key when painting. I have prepped my wet palette here. Red gloss. Any wet palette will do, in my opinion and experience. It's totally up to you. There are lots of options and you can build an own one and so on. And then I'm going to use a Da Vinci soap for cleaning the brushes. I am probably going to use only 2 brushes. Like a bullshit brush here just for base painting. And then Raphael Kolinsky blah 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 size 1 here for the rest of the painting. And obviously I have water and I have paints, mostly Games Workshop paints. When it comes to the painting, my style of painting is semi-improvised. It's not totally improvised, of course. I have been painting for a very long time. However, I don't follow any painting schemes or box art or anything of that nature. I am kind of going with the flow. I am thinking of setting up the camera on this castrol here. And we'll see how it goes with angles and focus and so on. So, this is painted with a mix of black and... let's see what it's called. Games Workshop's Rhinox Hide. And it's a very good base. And now I'm going to base it in the main color of what the miniature is planned to be in. Maybe an angle like that. And I don't have any furniture, so I'm painting on the floor here, obviously. Let's see, I'm thinking purple. And screamer pink. Corn red. No. Yes, I'm going to go with Games Workshop's. Let's see where it is. Maybe it's hard to focus and see. Yeah, Games Workshop's Screamer Pink. Anyway, and what I do mostly is that I build up from a dark base. So I am going to mix this 50-50 with Games Workshop's Abaddon Black to set the foundation for this Grey Seer here. And I always dilute the paints with water. So I just take a healthy amount of the black here and put it on the wet palette. And a healthy amount of the Screamer Pink. Similar amount as the Abaddon Black. Like so. And then I add some water. This is not exactly... I go a whole lot by feeling when it comes to these things. Because... lots of ratios might work, actually. Yes. There we have the mix. And then I just apply it all over this little Grey Seer here. Just splashing it on and... doing one layer first and then going back and spreading it out so that I get an even distribution and paint everywhere and so on and so forth. Of course, you can also do this with some kind of airbrush. That is really not my style though, but I don't judge anyone if you're using an airbrush or... find a similar paint in... spray format or whatever the case may be. So just spreading it on here for the first application. kind of messy with a big old brush. Not anything super fancy. It's like close to free. But it does the job when it comes to base painting. Of course, I won't do any fine details with this type of brush. That goes without saying. Yes, so a first messy application. The lighting is a little off. Maybe if I move into the corners. The corners of reality. There might be a different situation going on with the lighting and the focus and everything. We will see here. Like so. Like so. Many things in life is about angles, obviously. So we'll see here. If I have something to aim for, like so. Yes, yes, yes. Maybe it's more visible. Maybe it's also not. Let's see if I can get it a little bit down here. Down, I said. Is it on max? Oh, it is on max. Yeah, anyway, the base paint is applied here, and now I'm just going to go over it once more here with the same brush and even it out everywhere and get it into all the cracks and crevices and yeah, smooth it out so that it's equally distributed and looks nice and no pools or anything of that nature. You want smooth miniatures, of course, if you want smooth miniatures, that is. Painting can be done in many ways. Many ways. Oh my shit. You can, for instance, and I have tried this on some Sangors for Thousand Suns. Spray them white and then apply different kinds of shade paints or contrast paints, Games Workshop. When I talk about paints, I mostly talk about Games Workshop's paints since yeah, that is what I'm mainly using and have been mainly using for a long time. Of course, there are other nice brands when it comes to miniature paints as well. But I don't know so much about them, so I can't really tell you how they work, what their benefits are and pros, cons, yeah, etc. So my base is Games Workshop's Citadel paints. And yeah, that is what this tutorial is going to be all about. Very easy, accessible, of course. They have some cons, especially yeah, the lids. They dry up and they clog and so on, but it can easily be fixed, obviously, by just taking off the lid and pressing out the crap and pressing it back again and then putting it on yeah, the jar, the paint jar. Yes, this will have to be it when it comes to this, and sloppy as I was, I didn't close these, so when you have taken paint and applied it to the wet palette, of course you close your paints very thoroughly, always, so that there are no leakages and no waste of paint and all of that. And yeah, between each application and so on, automatically I clean it in water. And then when the session is over, I also use the soap here, paintbrush soap, to keep the quality of the brush as high as possible for as long as possible. Of course, I don't want to bore you with watching paint dry, so BRB. Yeah, I made this simple little device here to be able to better get things into focus. There is a little tape here, and yeah, this is just from some random notebook or whatever you want to call it. So I put this on here and it stays in place, and we will see how the focus turns out. Maybe it's better, I hope so. This is now totally dried, and the distribution of paint is very even. I went over it once again with this cheap synthetic brush, and it looks quite serious. And now I am going to start applying the first layer. The technique that I'm going to use is called layering, and here comes a true pro tip for all the painters out there. I take this bullshit synthetic brush here, and now I want to leave some of the dark paint here that I have applied in the recesses, the furthest in on the miniature. And when it comes to the parts that are more out on the miniature or nearer to the painter or the viewer or whatever you want to call it, I want to be brighter. And I do some kind of unnatural layering when it comes to painting. I want everything to be highlighted. Of course, if this was a real Grey Seer walking out in nature with sunlight on it, there would be like more light from above, obviously, like a zenithal situation. That is not what I'm going to do, because I think it's cooler when it's highlighted from all angles. This is, of course, up to each and everyone. So the pro tip here. I am going to apply pure Screamer Pink, and I take the synthetic brush and I apply a healthy amount on the wet palette here. Close the lid. Nice. I take some water. Amounts are up to you, of course. You don't want to paint with sauce. You don't want to paint with some kind of butter either. You want it to be somewhat nice, I would say. If you paint a lot, you will get the feeling for this automatically. So, and a little cleaning, of course, in between. Like so. And here comes the trick. You take your more serious paintbrush, in this case Raphael number 1, Kolinsky blah blah blah. You apply some water and get rid of the water. And then you load up the brush. And you load it up to like, I don't know, I would say half of the tip or whatever, maximum 75%. And then I will need to get away to get some stuff. You take some kind of paper. Obviously you don't use toilet paper on a daily basis. You can wash your ass with the shower. But I have this if someone comes and visit me or whatever. And then you just dab it like so to get rid of excess paint so there is no pooling. I don't know if it's totally visible here. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Anyway, this now is loaded up and there is no excess paint or whatever going on. So now I will apply this layer here on raised areas and so on. I leave a little of the base paint in the crevices or places where there are supposed to be some kind of shadow or whatever you want to call it. Like so. And then when you start noticing that paint doesn't come off as smoothly as it did in the beginning, you clean the brush with water. And you fill it up again in the same manner, max 75%. Like so, loaded. Yeah, whatever. And then you just apply it to your little tissue here to get rid of the excess. And then you have a nice loaded brush here that you can work with once more for your little layering painting here. So raised areas, you leave some of the base paint in the recesses and furthest in on the model to give the effect of, yeah, some lighting basically. And when it comes to the first layers here, you don't have to be mega precise, because you will paint over these with further layers. It's up to you how many layers you want to do, of course. However, I recommend at least, let's say 3 or 4 or whatever. You will see if there is some kind of contrast or effect going on. If it looks cool, basically, you know that you are on point. And if you happen to paint over some other areas, no worries, because you are going to paint these areas later on in the game, obviously. I'm not mega exact with the application here. However, I try to do it as good as possible, obviously. So there is not too much halves. Yes, it's starting to dry out, so I will clean it in water. Load up again. Get rid of the excess. Yeah, you start to get the picture here a little, I suppose. Or the process, or whatever you want to call it. Yes, moving on. when it comes to painting, it's really important to get the basics right. Like paint consistency and even application and all of that. It is very foundational for getting a nice result in the end. So focus and practice on the basics of painting and you will improve quite drastically, I would say. There are lots of nice channels out there when it comes to painting. Obviously Squidmore and Marco Frisoni, Ninion, Auto, and lots of other people as well who are very good. Juan Hidalgo, etc. So there are lots of inspirational sources on YouTube for miniature painting. However, some of them are very high level, so it might be hard to pull off. But that is also nice, because perfection is a hoax automatically. However, you can still aim for it. That is the paradox. So never get complete or perfect or whatever, but do aim for it, obviously. So that you won't just stagnate and settle down with dry brush or whatever. I'm not down talking dry brush here. Dry brush is an absolutely awesome technique. However, there are other things that you can do with brushes and paints than dry brushing your miniatures, obviously. Yes, I think that the base application here is on point. Maybe. Yeah, on point enough, whatever. It's not a painting contest, it's not Golden Demon or whatever. So, again, cleaning the brush with water. Key. And let's have a little reveal on things. I hope that the focus is absolutely on point so that you see now. Maybe I will have to angle it a little. Yeah, maybe it's hard to see and it's shaking automatically. Yeah, maybe you get the picture from this little view here, preview or whatever you want to call it. So deep in on the miniature there is still this dark mix of Screamer Pink and Abaddon Black going on, and then further away from the core of the miniature or whatever you want to call it, there is a lighter color going on with pure Screamer Pink. Now I am going to let this dry. It's totally important to let it dry in between the paintings so that you have a dry miniature to continue with. Now I am going to do some further layering here. Yes. The Grey Seer is dry now, so I am going to do further layering. And I'm going to add a much brighter paint here. Pallid Witch Flesh. And this is quite strong, so for the first layer here, I am going to take slightly more Screamer Pink than Pallid Witch Flesh. The ratios are up to you, of course. So, I might as well work from what I have here, I'm noticing. Why add paint when I have paint? So, in with Pallid Witch Flesh on the wet palette here, and this is also pure improvisation. You can see if it's too strong, too bright or whatever, too little effect, and you mix it with your cheaper brush here. Mix it real properly, get the right consistency, right amount of water. I think this is it. Clean the brush, obviously. And then the same technique applies here. So you load up the brush, maximum 75% of the bristle, or maybe it's called bristles, I don't know. Yes, like so, and you take a little paper and get rid of the excess, and then you have a very nicely loaded brush, like so. And then you want to do further layering here, or I am going to do further layering. And now I am going to leave some of the previous layer and some of the first layer as well, so that there is some kind of transition effect going on here. From dark to bright, obviously. And I go over all of the areas as I explained in the beginning here, even though it looks a little unnatural or whatever. I think it's cool when it's highlighted from all angles, and the miniature looks as good from all angles. It's very nice in my opinion. It's just how I choose to do it. There's no right or wrong when it comes to miniature painting, of course. One of the most important aspects of it is that it is enjoyable for you. Otherwise, why do it? And here it requires a little bit more precise application, I would say. So you need to be a little more careful here when you put on the brighter layers, because here it will be more obvious if you screw it up and so on. So take it easy. No stress. I always paint without music. It's totally up to you, of course. However, it's very nice to do so, in my opinion and experience, because it becomes more of like, mindfulness practice or whatever, stillness practice or what you want to call it. I think it's very nice to be totally zoomed in on the project at hand. No distractions or whatever going on. But it's up to you, of course, how you want to paint your little miniatures. Yes, so leaving some of the old layers is key here to get the whole transitional effect or fading effect, or whatever you want to call it, how you want to see it. It's up to you. Ni ungdomar. Ja, där is flärp. It's a little hard, so you will have to angle the miniature, of course, so that the light will hit it in a nice way, so that you see what you're doing and get the nicest possible effect. I think it's starting to fade a little here, but it's still usable, it's still doable. So I'm moving on with it. Yes, we'll do another load up here. So cleaning with water. Loading the brush up to maximum 75% of the bristle. Getting rid of excess. Having a really nice point, good. And then rocking it once more. Oh, I got a little on the beard there. Whatever, we'll paint that over later. Maybe some there. It's a little hard to paint in some areas, obviously. So do as good as you can. Of course you can paint, I don't know, the miniature before assembling it or whatever, but that's really not my style. Oh, I got a whole lot here on the... And you can use a brush for cleanup to get rid of any mess-ups immediately. Like so. And let's see, maybe a little here. Yes. You want full coverage, obviously. So really check in on the miniature after applications to see that it looks good and not too stripy or whatever. And this is by no means some competition painting level or whatever. This is not like pro painting. However, this is what I would call tabletop plus. This is going to look really good. It is a little time consuming, of course, but if you enjoy the process, it's totally worth it, I would say. When it comes to layering, my tip is to not make too large jumps in color or whatever you want to call it. Do not go too bright directly. You want to gradually progress into brighter colors on your miniatures to make it look more realistic and cool. Let's see here, maybe some here. Yeah, pop in. Yes, that is that. Cleaning the brush with water. And a little mini reveal to see how it progresses. Now you are starting to see here that there is a build-up of color. And yeah, it's getting brighter right now, maybe like so. It's starting to look really cool, and yeah, of course you can just leave it with this and go on to other areas of the miniature. However, I want to take it one extra notch from here to just really put some brightness on the top parts of the miniature. So maybe this has dried. Yeah, it has. We go directly here. Absolutely. And now you want to add even more of your bright color. So I'm going to add more pallid witch flesh here. Of course, you can also add some white. However, white is very tricky. Do not add too much white in any of your mixes. Is my hot tip of the day. So, and water. We'll go in with a little white here. I will take some white scar here to really kick it up. Just a little. I don't want too much kick. Like so maybe. And a little border. Yeah, this is nice. I think this is it. Alright. So, clean the brush. Load up the more serious brush in the same manner as explained previously. 75% max. Like so. And then get rid of the excess. And now I just really want to hit like the tips everywhere. I will show you here later on. You can drag a little with the side of the brush to get some kind of effect here. You don't want it to look too mechanically painted either, of course. Might be nice with some scratches and yeah, unevennesses. Not too much though. Using the side of the brush is very nice if you want to do like edge highlighting for the final steps of your little layering here. A good tip is critical, of course, so that's why you might not want to have the crappiest brush in the world when you are doing these kinds of things. I know that this brush that I'm using here is a little bit more expensive, however it's totally worth it in my opinion and experience. So yeah, you don't need like 1,000 brushes, you might only need like one really solid to get great results. That's what I'm saying. Like so, maybe some scratches here and there. And some areas are hard, such as round areas. There you just might want to scratch it over a little to just bring out some kind of effect. It's not the end of the world if it isn't perfect, you know. Yes, moving on. So when possible it's very nice to use like the side of the brush. But of course it's not possible to do that in all areas of a miniature. Sometimes you might need to use the tip as well. Oh yeah, no, I get the brain. Yes. As such, and a little here. Just on the tips, on the very raised areas of the miniature, to get some real effect going on here. It's nice. Like so. Maybe a little here and there. Yes. Some scratches here. Some scratches here. And for this final step here with the edge highlighting and so on, the paint will last you a very long time if you do like I have shown you here. So you won't need to load it up as often if you use a wet palette and some serious gear here. So it's much easier. It's a simpler process than just taking paint straight out of pot or whatever. Of course there's nothing wrong with that either. It depends. This is a hero here or a character, so of course I want it to look slightly cooler than my normal miniatures, troops or whatever. That's why I'm adding a little extra effort. a little effort. So let's see, painting with the side when possible, nice. Ja, det är ungdomar, det ser bra ut där. Yes. Some areas will automatically be more cool than others. It's just a way of things. It's impossible to get everything to look as cool. Yes, it's running dry. Cleaning with water. Loading it up. Load up. Hey. Getting rid of the excess. And yeah, basically going in again. Being as careful as possible. Not the easiest thing in the world. Here on the round area I might as well just do some random scratches like so. Så fint. And then down here we will have like a little crap. It's nice to move around the miniature to be able to apply with the side if possible, so that you will get really clean and smooth lines. You don't want any bullshit going on when you're painting. Jaha. Of course, it's hard to get it everywhere in a nice manner, but we're getting there. Yeah, I will do the same here with some scratching just over the knee, like so. No effect. And then we go in again. Down here, some lines here. Maybe a little more here. Going in with some scratches. Yes, good enough, good enough. Going here. Like so. And then turning it a little. Yes. It's so hard to reach some areas. The miniatures are awesome when it comes to Games Workshop, but sometimes I'm thinking if they have actually thought about that someone is going to paint them, or that they are just going to be as 3D as possible and impossible to paint. I don't know. Like so, a little bit more there and there. Ja. Maybe some up here. Little here. There. Yeah, that's it. So, I will obviously need to divide this video into separate parts. However, this is the cloak. And now that I am finished painting here, I will use this soap and really clean the brushes thoroughly and rinse them with a whole lot of water and let them dry in room temperature or whatever. But let's do a little cloak reveal here. I hope that the zoom and the angles and the visibility is on point here, because That would be really nice. Let's see. Maybe I can do an angle. An angle. Don't I have anything angled? I have an angled object. Where's the wrong angle? Okay. Såg du gubbe? Yes. And maybe I will need to lift it up a little. Yes, hopefully this is totally on point with zoom and angle and everything. And as can be seen here, wait a second. As can be seen here, it's really starting to pop in the details now. Maybe I should turn the miniature instead of turning the device. It's probably most visible from the back here, I would say. Yeah, starting to really pop now. This is, of course, at least tabletop, I would claim. And yeah, it's not a super complicated process. It takes time, of course, but yeah, you can get quite great results with very little effort, as long as you know what you're doing and you have like the basic techniques on point. Let's see. Yes, total failure. Let's see here. Yeah, I think it is at least quite visible what is going on here with the whole layering and highlighting situation. It's starting to look really nice, and yeah, it's popping quite a lot. And of course you can add another layer if you wish. You can add as many layers as you want to, but soon it will become like unnecessary. There is too much brightness. It doesn't need to be like a perfect transition from black to white or whatever with some color in between it. Yeah, you get the picture. So anyway, this was a short little tutorial on how to make a cloak on a Grey Seer, and I hope that you really enjoyed watching the video and that you learned something. And if you have any questions, post them down below. More to come. Have an awesome now. Ciao.